There is a place where legends are born. Where the light confronts the dark. A world of incredible mystery, magic, and adventure. A world where colossal powers will collide in a battle to control the universe. Masters of the Universe.
Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the Hottoycast, a high-end action figure podcast for high-end humans where we talk about all things 1/6 action figures. Now, while I usually cover Hot Toys, Sideshow and the like, today it's all about Mondo and in particular the Masters of the Universe. So with that in mind, I've decided I would get two of the biggest He-Man fans out there to join me. So with me today is one young Dan Eardley, aka Pixel Dan, one of the finest reviewers out there, one of my favourite people out there as well. How are you doing today, old chum?
Doing great, though I'm not feeling so young these days, Eamon.
Tell me about it. I know.
Well, I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great to have you on, man. And it's been a while since we chatted as well. And I think I've had you on the Hot Toy Cast once before, a few years ago as well. So
we used to do this podcast thing pretty regularly together.
We did.
I miss those days.
The old Rose School, man. It was good. It was good crack, man. It was good fun. Good time. Yeah. Maybe we'll have a big reunion at some stage or something down the line. Man. There you go. Definitely. And also as well, joining me today is a really special guest, a gentleman I've also known for a long time as well, but I'm not as familiar with. To be honest, I've never actually really spoken to him on the phone before until now, on the podcast until now. And it is one Ted Biaselli, executive producer over there at Netflix. How are you doing today, Ted?
Well, hello, my friend. It's true. We actually have known each other for over a decade. I have a picture of us from a PowerCon party, I'm sorry, not a PowerCon party, a Comic-Con party when we used to do the Power Party.
That's it. Yeah. He-Man parties
at the bar, like down in the basement.
Yeah.
There's so many of us in that picture. It's you, it's me. I think James is in that picture. I think Katie is in that picture. There's so many of the He-Man fans from like the early days of the org on there. So we've definitely gone back for pretty far.
Man, I couldn't believe that photograph in each month. I was like, oh my God, there we are. Holy smokes.
Children.
I know. So ungrey.
Those Comic-Con parties were so awesome.
Dude, they were brilliant. They were some of my still today some of my favorite memories ever. They're really but we were happy. It was like we got hammered, but not like snot dribbling drunk falling out the door hammered. We were all like bouncing all over the place hammered.
And it was so funny because back then, I mean, this was the early aughts. So it was, the internet, it wasn't exactly what it was today. And the communion of finding people who also love that thing that you love was still kind of new, right? It was still kind of new. And then when people that you'd only talk to online in text, right? Because it was a true message board. It was just text. And then you got to meet them and you got to see them and all the things you talked about and the things you loved together and the things you didn't love together and the things that you disagree on. Like, it all became so real. And the thing that I valued the most was that it was that interaction with human beings. Like, the internet didn't supplant human interaction. It actually made you long for it more, so that when you finally did meet those people in person, it was more genuine and more, the affection was really there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Actually, I completely agree with all that. So today, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little bit of a chit chat and things like that. But we're also going to review and discuss upcoming releases, which is what we do in the Hot Toycast. So about Hot Toy releases, but it's going to be all Mondo related. So if any of our regular listeners are not at all interested in Master Universe, you better get up and leave now. But for everyone else, come join us. Come join us.
No, don't leave. Come, be one of us.
Be one of us. Be one of the men who like furry shorts. We all have the furry shorts and stuff like that. But Mondo, the whole Mondo thing has been very exciting, and I've been a lot of us have been like fans of the stuff since for years. We've been fans of He-Man since we've been kids and stuff like that. But I, for one, have been a big fan of like 1/6 figures. I've just loved 1/6 because I will always put it down to that Mr. T figure I never got. Big Mr. T, never got as a kid, and I now have this weird fetish for bigger figures. So I'm 1/6 I do love. 6 to 7 inch figures is still my favorite format of action figure. But Dan, how are you? Where are you at 1/6 collecting? What's your story of 1/6 collecting? Where are you at?
So that I have never been a 1/6 collector, and I think you and I have even had this conversation way back in the day, because you've always been a fan of 1/6 figures, and I never really collected them, but I always said I will be in trouble if they ever do He-Man 1/6 figures, because there's no way I'll be able to resist that. And here we are. You know, Mondo's been releasing these, and I've bought most of them since the line started, but they're really my only foray into 1/6. I've had a few other things here and there.
You got the G.I. Joes that time?
I did. I had that Snake Eyes one time, the Hot Toys one, and I've had Bespin Luke Skywalker from Hot Toys.
Oh yeah, good one.
So I've dabbled over the years, but it's the He-Man ones that have really drawn me in, of course, for obvious reasons. It's my all-time favorite property. Otherwise, I'm the same. I'm like the 6-7 inch figures are kind of like my favorite, and then of course the vintage 5.5s. Like I love vintage Motu. Is still my all-time favorite toy line. But yeah, it's been exciting and fun. It's expensive, but but I do enjoy them. I think they're really, really fun.
Yeah. Ted, where are you at with the 1/6?
I'm sort of somewhere between the two of you guys. I never got into Hot Toys, mainly because I was like, look, I already have a bananas big collection of 6-inch scale figures, so I can't really go down the road of collecting these big, 12-inch figures. But there are some characters that I genuinely love and want in action figure form to do something with, whether it's take photos or just display. And I started mostly with horror. Like, there was a lot of really cool horror figures that were coming out in that larger scale. And, I think the first one I might have bought was the Barnabas Collins figure from Dark Shadows. I'm a big Dark Shadows fan. And having that figure, and it came in it came in the flashback figure form, and it came in the regular Barnabas form. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then there was a Vincent Price figure from The Raven. And I'm a big Vincent Price fan and a big, old Universal Horror and Roger Corman fan. And I was like, oh, I need that Vincent Price figure. And then there was like a Dr. Phibes figure, and like so it was weird that, and there were all these third-party companies that weren't very big and they weren't making a lot of figures, and I was like, oh, I need all of those. And then when Hot Toys came on the scene, I was like, oh, this could be really bad. This could be really, really expensive for me. I have a handful. I have Stan Lee.
Nice.
Stan Lee, the first one, the one with the members only jacket.
Yeah.
And I have the most recent Amazing Spider-Man with the scorpion tail coming out. I also have the Back to the Future 2 Doc and Marty.
Good man.
I don't have the DeLorean, but I do have the Doc and Marty.
They've just released a new DeLorean with the fold-down wheels. It's from the number 2. I have the first DeLorean, and I'm actually slightly tempted to update to this other DeLorean because it kind of comes with all the extra bells and whistles. The wheels can actually fold down. It's got that strobing light at the bottom of underneath the carriage, or underneath the
schoolyard butcher. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? You're tempting me like the devil.
Look, man, that Wednesday's been a big success. Go buy it. Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
I just got to keep working and do it again and do it again. That's all I got to do. But yeah, no, it's quite lovely. I think the one Hot Toys stuff that I always see and I always like my heart beats for it is all the Keaton Batman stuff and the Jack Nicholson Joker and that beautiful 89 Batmobile. Oh, they're so stunning. They're so beautiful. But to the point of the topic, when Mondo started doing the Motu stuff, I actually already had a Mondo figure. I had the Alfred Hitchcock before they did the Motu stuff. And when they announced the Motu stuff, I was like, oh, man, I hope this doesn't go deep. I hope this doesn't go too deep. I'll just get the Skeletor or the He-Man, whichever the first one was. And I was like, I'll just get that, and then we'll see where we go from there. And then it was like, and now I have the Motubi Merman, and I have 2 different Bardak, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is only going to get worse.
You went all in, did you? You got the Motubis or whatever they're called.
I have those too.
I got Merman and Man at Arms in the Motubi.
I have Merman and Skeletor are the ones I have, and I love them. Those paint decos are insane. They're so
phenomenal.
Cool.
They're
so pretty.
I never got any of those.
I wish I got the Skeletor one because the head sculpt is different, and I really wish that I got that head sculpt.
Also, the classic toy head sculpt works so much better on that one because of that paint deco. Like it looks like it actually matches a little bit better.
Yeah, it does actually. See, I know what you mean. I see exactly what you mean on that.
Yeah, I like that one. I remember like when Mondo first got going with the He-Man stuff, it was very slow going. Do you guys remember that?
It was very slow. We saw prototypes for years, nothing was budging. They
showed prototypes for years. I remember going to like 3 Comic-Cons in a row, 3 years in a row, where they just had that dang He-Man out over and over and over again. And it's like, is this coming? When is this coming? What is going on here? So kind of like Ted.
2023 and we're getting Battle Cat.
I know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Ted, I didn't ever think that this would go as far as it did. Like I assumed we'd get a He-Man and a Skeletor, and maybe that would be it. If they, came out.
And a Faker, because it's always the easiest.
Always easy to do a Faker. Right.
Fake.
You get those He-Man and Skeletor out, Faker's right behind them.
Yep.
But yeah. Now we have Battle Cat coming and lots more, which is mind blowing.
Yeah,
we have indeed lots more. Let's get into that actually. Right now, I've managed to get some pictures from what was this event? That was this PowerCon last year. That the photographs I've got here on the chat.
Or are they from DCon? I think those are from DCon, right?
DCon. Oh, Designer Con. Yes, of course they're from Designer Con because Mondos and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a whole. As some listeners know, I do design a lot of action figures. I do mean a lot of action figures. I'm not into that arena at all. That's an area I'm quite ignorant in, the whole designer toy business. That's a whole other arena entirely that I'm completely not familiar with as a toy designer at all. But this is DCon, and we had these Mondo reveals like we had they've been just really upping the ante with all this stuff, and as we've got Battle Cat on the way coming coming this year in 2023, so we're mindlessly stoked for that. I was saying this to Ted a few months back. I goes, I'm excited about a lot of toys coming up, but Battle Cat 1/6, holy smokes, is something I never thought we'd ever get to see, and the fact that it looks so boss. It's like I think it's the most excited I've ever been about anything ever. Maybe the first round of classics. Do you remember how excited we were when that first round of classics came out? Like we were chomping at the bit. We got that King Grayskull, and we're like, oh my god.
Yes.
Similar to this now with this Mondo Battle Cat. No, that's how I'm feeling. I cannot wait. Ted, how are you with the Battle Cat?
Oh my god. Honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, well, I don't know where the hell that's going, but damn. It's going somewhere, and I just found myself just staring at it and just looking at all the detail. I think it was first on display at Comic-Con, and I just kept like just drooling. No. It was PowerCon last year.
PowerCon in Anaheim. Yep.
21 in Anaheim, the last He-Man PowerCon, and but I don't think it was painted. It was just the prototype,
unpainted and unarticulated. It was just like a statue basically.
I would have bought that.
And I was like. Oh. Whenever that comes out, that'll be fun. I had no idea that it was coming so quickly.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I like it's just beautiful, and all the different heads. And I actually think it was really smart of them to have the helmeted head, being an actual head and not a removable helmet. I think that's actually really smart.
Yeah, it does. Because it just allows more flexibility because you can get a wider facial expression on the unhelmeted head and stuff like that as well. Yeah, and like I remember Dan sort of posting the picture straight away from that PowerCon, and it kicked off, man. Everyone was just losing their mind. It's one of those universally, oh my god, everyone's delighted with this. There was no negativity. Everyone was just like, oh my god. I think the negativity was just like, how are we going to afford this, or where's it going to go?
That and the timing of when it was released, because they put it up for solicitation like literally the last day that Eternia went up.
Oh, that's right. It was a right double whammy, wasn't it?
We're like, they put both of these things up at the same time.
That was really funny because I was out there in California when that was going on.
Oh, that's right, you were, yeah.
That was when I was out there, and because I got to play with that Battle Cat in person. I got to go over. It was really cool. I had the opportunity to go over to Funko Hollywood and meet up with Bob and Hector from Mondo, and I got to play with the prototype, and that's I shot that interview with them and got to mess with it. But they were even kind of like, we didn't know that Eternia was going on sale at the same time we had this planned. Like that, they were nervous.
Well, it was a huge.
And I felt bad because
I'm sure it was a huge success, though, right? Regardless, doesn't matter, does it?
Right.
I mean, I think everybody who wanted both of them got them. They don't know how they're going to pay for them, but they got them.
Yeah, sell along or something.
It is nice that Mondo offers the payment plans and stuff, though,
yeah,
which I do appreciate. Yeah.
And then they did that with Eternia too. After a couple of days, they figured out a payment plan method, which was really smart. And then the other thing that I think is really interesting, and we should talk about it, is Mondo's sort of like limited run pre-orders. It's like, okay, we're going to put it up for 24 hours. You got 24 hours to buy it. You don't have to run and fight online to get in there when it's art and go. Like, honestly, I love that. It is so nice, and they give you plenty of time to know that it's coming. And I'm like, this is the way that all of this, especially as more collector lines go online, I think that business model really makes a lot of sense. Let's give us 24 hours. These kinds of like the crazy sellouts on Mattel Collector when they do the Origins figures, it's like no, please just give us a little bit of time to do it. Give us 24 hours and then turn the machines on.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's great.
I agree.
And everyone's been happy with that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, because that's the first few Mondo figures I was buying. That was a point of frustration, right? You didn't know if the figure was going to sell out instantly and you were going to miss it, especially, because they always do the Mondo exclusive version and the normal version. And sometimes you want that exclusive version because you want that extra character that's packaged with it, right?
The He-Man one came with the Alcala Skeletor head, remember?
Yeah.
That was... Yeah. Like when the He-Man Mondo exclusive came out, and that's the head that I have on my Skeletor. I'm like, that's the one that I want.
Yeah, that's what everyone wanted.
That's the one I've got on mine too.
Those exclusive heads, and then I think the Faker one was the one that came with the half battle damaged one.
Yeah.
The exclusive head in there, and I'm like, that's how my Faker's displayed. So.
Yeah, Skeletor came with Relay.
That's right. Who didn't want Relay? Everyone wants Relay. What a weird.
I looked out of scale, but I have him with my Club Grayskull figures.
That's funny.
He's a
giant Relay.
He's a funny little creature, isn't he? I mean, who wouldn't want a Relay? Everyone wants a Relay. But the pictures I'm looking at here now, folks, are the ones that, and I'll post them on my Twitter and Instagram. But folks have already seen these anyway. These are readily out there. It's Mondo presentation from Decon, and they dropped Panther on us. Obviously, once we saw Battle Cat, we all like, oh my god, well, it wouldn't be too far stretched to do Panther. And sure enough, here it is, Panther, and it's just again, everything that you would want it to be. It's absolutely amazing. But they've incorporated that extra helmet, which I guess we always figured that even as kids that Panther kind of needed a helmet of some sort, because it didn't seem fair that here's big old Battle Cat come on with his big helmet and poor old Panther's got nothing to protect his noggin. So it was always a little unfair, I thought, that Panther didn't have it. But the Four Horsemen in their 2000X line, the 2000X line.
Classics.
And Classics.
Classics is...
as well, they incorporated the helmet into because it was 2000X we first saw the helmet though. No, it wasn't. I'm wrong. It was Classics.
Yeah,
sorry,
it was just Classics.
It was just Classics. Sorry, I apologize. Yes, it was just Classics. And to see that coming back here now in helmet in 1/6 scale is absolutely stunning. And Dan, have you seen Panther in the flesh yet?
I have not seen it in person. I've only seen the photos. I mean, they were not shy about hinting that he was coming when we were talking for that interview. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see the pictures until they, revealed it at Decon there. And it's gorgeous, man. It's gorgeous. I did poke them a little bit about if they'd ever flock it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I because I would love my Panther to be flocked. I don't know how feasible that is on something of this scale.
Bump the price up something fierce though, wouldn't it?
I would be worried about, it probably would be really expensive to flock it, and I would also imagine that there's probably potential of it scuffing and scraping really bad, right? I don't know, but anyway, I do think it looks beautiful. That Ram Skull helmet it's never been like a favorite of mine. I don't know, just a personal taste, but I think it's smart that they included it, and it does look really cool. I really like kind of the embellishments with it. Like, I love how big the ram horns look on it. It's really cool. But I love all the extra heads they've got too, because the
extra head is are nice on this
face. Yeah, and then the very ferocious one, and then they've got that. They kind of like they did with Battle Cat. They've got a helmet that is like their design, but it's definitely inspired by those smaller 2000X type helmets.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool to see that they created one for Panther.
The saber-tooth helmet.
The saber tooth, the long metal saber teeth look really cool on it.
It's cool.
So,
I think I'd go for that one.
Pixel Dan, I'm curious, why? What about the ram horns do you not like? Because I loved it when I first saw that design for classics. I literally lost my head. I was like, "This is the best friggin' thing! It's so cool!"
No, that's great, and I'm happy for everybody that loves it. I don't know. I have this weird thing where I wrestle with my own emotions about a lot of this stuff, because while I consider myself somebody who wants to encourage things to be different and progress and not just be exact replicas of the vintage, there are some times when I'm like, well, the vintage one didn't have a helmet, so I don't want mine to have a helmet. And I think sometimes like I just can't get past my own thought like that. And I don't know, I like Panther better without a helmet on. Well, so that's just my own personal thing.
I guess
it's so funny. I asked you that question, and then I just glanced over at my shelf, and my Panther does not have that helmet on.
I think it's because how he was so iconic in our minds. It's how we envisioned him in our heads. We've had him on our shelves. As, that's how we saw him without the helmet.
Yeah.
But I think I will go for the saber-tooth helmet on the Mondo one, though. I tell you, I think I might go for it. But the plain head, the head without the helmet, is just so nice as well. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, and it's funny. I like. Let's talk about that a little bit, because when the first He-Man came out, it was very Mondo-fied, right? It had the leather, like sort of like skirt. It was the tunic, the harness was very chunky and really over detailed, and the face sculpt, it didn't look like He-Man. And I think that we have this image in our, but that didn't stop any of us from getting it. But I think that in our we have this kind of this sort of iconic image of classic. And like, even for me, like all my Marvel Legends, like as soon as they come out with one that looks like that very first iconic, like I loved the last Lizard that came out, the Build-A-Figure Lizard that was super beautifully articulated and detailed and all that. And then as soon as one came out looking like it stepped out of the 1960s cartoon, I was like, that's the Lizard that's going on my shelf. So it's like there's something about that purity of when you first saw it, when you first encountered it, and how much leeway you give the designers to sort of make those calls.
I also think, from a designer standpoint as well, that we have been, going hyper detailed has been around now for quite a while, since the 90s. Everything was hyper detailed. And I think it's nice to when something's a little bit more stripped back and bolder. And I think, there's definitely, less is more kind of a thing sometimes. Because we've been, because we grew up at a time when action figures couldn't have a lot of detail, and we kind of craved detail. And then McFarlane comes out and they were giving us all the details, like we wanted more and more. And for years we all collected figures because it had all these great details. But I find as either we're getting older or our tastes, and because of the amount of things that come out with so many details, that when a cleaner, simpler design or representation comes out of our characters, we do gravitate heavily towards it. Not just for nostalgia, but because it just has that lovely, clean boldness to it that I think is just I think is quite desirable in a lot of figures as well. Like the Thundercats 2000 and the Thundercats, for instance, or some of the a lot of the Super 7 stuff, they're going for that very clean paint apps. That's nice flat colors but matte, and you know what I'm saying, that kind of nice clean stripped back kind of style, like just like Ted was on about. There's been tons of really cool, aesthetically far more detailed Lizards out there, but you get that kind of more bolder, clean, retro look, and we seem to really like that these days. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's both taste and the fact that we have had a lot of detailed stuff and things like that. But right.
It's also a nice transition to your favorite Mondo of the year, your favorite 1/6, which is the Revelation Skeletor.
Yes.
Compared to mine, which was the She-Ra, which I thought was like exactly the point of contrast that you just outlined. Like Revelation Skeletor was really bold, really clean, simple design, and just truly like the best representation of that look. And then what I loved about the She-Ra one is all the intricacies of it, and how beautiful and detailed all of the stuff that sort of like filled in the gaps in my mind of what a She-Ra, what that sort of like, you know, barbarian woman outfit would look like. And I think it's really cool how Mondo can give us both of those different, you know, directions.
Yeah, no, I mean, Leander did a cracking job on that one, didn't he? In fairness, and the rest of the team as well. Hector and the rest of the gang are quite heavily involved as well. So it's lovely design on the She-Ra. Lovely design. Sorry, Dan, go on.
The She-Ra's beautiful, but one thing I want to add to that is, like, even though she does have this beautiful details and everything in her, when you look at her, she looks like She-Ra.
It's iconically She-Ra.
It's iconic, like all of the beats of her classic costume, it's all there. And I think that was part of, like, going back to that first He-Man, he was just a little over-designed for my tastes. And, you know, like, they took the basics of He-Man, sure, but, like, I don't know, all the over details of the harness and the leather and all that stuff. Plus what Ted said about the face. I personally feel that He-Man, as the main character, is the hardest one to get the likeness right on. He is like, it's very, very specific, and if you are a little bit off, it's not He-Man anymore. It's just some guy. And that's one of the things that even Mattel struggles with. Like, I completely agree, yeah. So many of the Masterverse figures that just don't look like He-Man to me, you know? And all of them, yeah. and I think that's one of the things that Mondo really got right with this deluxe He-Man is, like, that looks like He-Man. Like, something about that face, that's He-Man's face. And
he's got that cool surfer hair now as well at last, you know? At last he's got that more shaggier hair, because everyone is so hung up on the hair and with that bowl cut hair. And it's because Filmation were lazy. That's why he's got that hair. It's the only reason he's got that hair.
I like to see that nothing has changed. Eamon is still dogging on Filmation all these years later. I love it.
I love him, but also.
I know.
But it's just like we are slipping into review territory. I wanted to cover the upcoming releases, and then we get onto their face. I know, but this is this is the way. But this is the way it goes. When you got three mad Master Universe fanboys and the thing, we can't help it. This is just what we do. But we will get into the. We'll circle back to He-Man and She-Ra here. Let's get on with the rest of the quick reveals on that were at the Decon. After Panther, we got the Teela. They showed us a sketch. It looks like Emiliano St. Lucia's art of Teela. Now it doesn't show any accessories with her and stuff, but it looks like it's on the same Teela or the same book as She-Ra. I would imagine it's probably the same book as She-Ra anyway, right? And it's a lovely looking design. Lovely looking design. What do you think of this one, Ted?
I'm obsessed. I mean, look, I love Teela. She-Ra inches out over Teela for me. But if when they do Evelyn, I'm a dead man. Because Evelyn is my number one. She has always been my favorite character. I love her so much. I cannot wait to see what a Mondo Evelyn looks like in this line.
Yeah. It's gonna be very exciting. I mean, I hope this. Do you think this Teela is going to come with her headpiece and snake stuff, Dan?
I think so.
I would say
I think it's very possible. Yeah, like you said, that this doesn't really show any accessories, and that's likely just because they're saving some stuff to reveal. They just wanted to show us that they were doing her. Yeah. But like, I think it's very, very possible that multiple heads. Right? I wouldn't be surprised. It looks like the head that they've got here is sort of inspired by the vintagey, but it looks more ponytailish, right?
Yeah.
I wonder. Like the design in the record book from Point Dread, like it's kind of like a hybrid hair up with a ponytail.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes me wonder if we'll get another head sculpt that's got like the little skull cap on that the snake armor would fit over, and maybe even one that just has the straight up bun on top, like Filmation-y styled. So it'll be interesting.
Maybe one with half of her head shaved off and like. That's cool.
Do it.
Everybody's favorite version of Teela.
Absolutely. Well, when we get onto when we get onto the Revelations, we'll talk about some stuff on that front as well. Because Dan, you were talking the other day, and what did Bob say to you about this? We've said that we might, that this. Well, let's mention that we actually get to the Revelations, Skeletor. Sorry, I am getting ahead of myself here. Beastman is
is insane.
Yeah, I mean, how big is he gonna be?
Man, well, I mean, we know Battle Cat's coming, and he's huge. But now we're thinking, like, in context of, like, this dude's gonna be so much bigger, right? He's got to be so much bigger than like He-Man and Skeletor on our shelves. And just looking at this image, like it's insane. That big hunched back there, where he's kind of got leaning forward a little bit, those longer arms. Like this is gonna be like, it's got to be entirely new, like like an entirely new sculpt, right?
Yeah,
like it's
absolutely.
not gonna reuse the same bodies as the others.
They might get away with the abs maybe or something, but yeah, that whole hunch, big, massive back and his hands. I love his hands. I love his dangly hands. I love my Beastman with kind of dangly, kind of beastie hands. I love that. And he's got those cool gladiator nods to the gladiator stuff as well. His knuckle dusters that he has, got a kind of claws on the knuckle dusters. That's really leaning into his original sketch art design on the toy as well, which is really nice to see. It's cool. Those spikes are nice and chunky. He's just cool. I mean, I wonder if he was. I wonder would he come with. See, he might be simple because he's so big. He may not come with a lot of extra heads and things like that. But I wonder if he was coming with extra head, what head would he get? I wonder. A red head, an all makeupless head. I wonder. Ted, what do you think? What do you think you get? An extra head. Think of an extra head for Beastman there.
I mean, look, there's maybe an all red version. I don't know what other head he would come with, except maybe expression wise.
Yeah, expressions.
Closed mouth maybe. But he's perfect. Like he's absolutely perfect. Like it's what Dan said earlier about She-Ra. Like yeah, it's all ornamented and there's really cool stuff, but it's Beastman. I mean, there's no question about the way he looks. He is the iconic Beastman.
Yeah.
Look at those colors.
I know.
Look at those colors.
Yeah.
If they make
so
it
bright,
if they make it vibrant, I mean, honestly, that's exactly what we all hope for.
Yeah, we love those bright, bold colors. He's absolutely amazing. And then finally, they reveals to us. Oh, that's not that. Which one? They reveal to us Orko. Oh no! We got one more. We got the big one. Will the big one? Actually, no. Let's do Orko first. And then down to the third one. Yeah. So Orko, and with this Orko, there looks like they're going to give us 4 heads. One that looks like he's casting some spells with magic, so his eyes are completely blanked out. And or maybe that's just a side profile of the head. No, that's just a side profile of the head. And then like a more standard cartoon with expression, his eyes wide. And then, oddly enough, an unmasked Orko. I'm not sure how I feel about unmasked Orko. I didn't need to see Orko unmasked, but he was unmasked in the show once, right? Or was he ever unmasked?
Well, no, we never saw him in the show. The first time we saw him unmasked was in the Art of book, right? There was that the insert page in the Art of book that had the cell of Orko unmasked. That was the first official reveal of what Orko looked like under his hat. Am I crazy on that one?
I think you're right. That sounds right to me. And I'm kind of with Eamon though. I don't know if I ever really needed to see Orko unmasked. It's a bit weird.
Weird. Getting Grogu vibes as well.
Yeah, totally right. It's Grogu, also that thing like, you've built the mystery for so long that the second you see it, nothing will satisfy you to see it, right? Like there's not like the monster in your mind is so much bigger and scarier than when you finally see the monster, right? So and the same thing that you've romanced Orko's look for years, and when you finally see it, you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he would look like without that. that it's kind of all right.
It's kind of like seeing the face of a Jawa. Don't wanna.
Yeah.
I don't wanna.
I do think it's really fun that we're getting Orko though.
No, he's brilliant. He looks. Yeah, sorry, we're being a negative there. He's actually really he's an excellent design. He looks amazing. Because he's got that same silhouette. He hasn't gone for an over stylized thing. It's so easy for everyone to go Orko into that more kind of hyper Magic the Gathering kind of vibe with him. It's so easy to slip him into that kind of arena, which 2002 did a little bit. But what I love about this Orko here, it's very like the silhouette is distinctively his kind of more shorter self. It's really, really, really good. Again, this is Emiliano's design, I believe. Again, it's very Orko, and it's if you're going to go Orko, go Orko. You don't need to overly make him, and he still has plenty of cool embellishments. But I think the 2000X maybe pushed his design a little bit too far. This is brilliant. I think absolutely.
I think it took the best elements of 2000X. It took that the sort of like that mid torso tunic cut that it has, and almost like the little like the belt with all the little potions and things like that, which I love. I love a mage to have magic potions at the ready. A hat that opens up that is your, bottomless thing that you can reach into your head and pull whatever. That's cute, and it works really great on a cartoon for kids. As we look at Motu through the lens of adult collectors, something about having a fantasy mage character have potions at the ready or powders or whatever around them. They're sort of like belt. I love that. That's very D&D for me, and I'm really into that idea. And I also love that it has a little bit of, like, the scarf has a little bit of that sort of, like, it's not such a perfect, muffle around his face. It has a little bit of fluidity, a little bit of life, which I loved about the 2000X design, and which I think we incorporate a little bit into Revelation, is bringing that kind of like fluidity to Orko's cape a little bit. It as a character who floats, you want to have a little bit of that train of movement to it, and I did a really good job translating that in this design.
Absolutely lovely.
I agree. It's as much as I love the Four Horsemen's like redesigns from the 2000s line, the 2000X series. Orko having like a knee sculpted into him was so weird to me always. You remember that sculpt?
That's
had, like,
right. Yeah.
Out of it.
It was he was a bit too much. He was just pushed
a
bit too far. I thought he was nice, but just pushed too far.
It's so weird.
Give him a little,
this one looks great. I'm excited for him.
I wonder what kind of a little he's going to obviously come with a little hovery base, won't he? So I'm wondering what he's going to come with. He'll come with a flight stand, of course, but I'm just wondering.
Honestly, I would love it to be a very simple flight stand.
Same.
I don't need a cloud, a blue cloud.
I don't want a blue cloud. No blue cloud.
Keep it clean and simple. Just a flat, clear disc and a clear post. That's all I need. I don't need all the stuff. I don't need it.
That's one of those things that's like, since the 2000X line, Mattel's been putting a blue cloud underneath all of their Orko figures, and I don't get it. Like, he's never had blue clouds underneath him before.
It's so disappointing because the Origin Orko is a gorgeous figure, and it has that awful blue cloud.
Yeah.
And it's massive. It's huge. It's like the size of 3 Orkos.
No need. Just no need. All right. And finally, I mean, the reveal, the kill all reveals, of course, a Skeletor. And in the way that we got He-Man comes with like 3 different looks, we get a Skeletor here with 3 different looks, and oh my god, this is some purpley bluey goodness right here, man. Bring it, just bring it, just all over me. It's absolutely, it's just awesome. Dan, talk to me, tell me what.
Well, we got his version of the battle armor is included, but also we get Dragon Blaster Skeletor, which means we're gonna get an awesome little dragon creature that's gonna sit on his back,
and he's proper creeping over his shoulder too, as well, like a proper dragon.
Man. Yeah, you see how like his hand is like grasping onto his shoulder, and he's like oh man, I can't wait to see how that thing like actually articulates and like what the paint deco looks like and everything on that. I'm really excited for that.
Super cool, so cool.
That was my biggest sort of like disappointment with the classics Dragon Blaster Skeletor is the dragon just they could have done so much more with that kind of,
it's leaning too far back on the back. It's not forward enough. This is what is the dragon's head is alongside Skeletor's head. It's over his shoulder,
Well, I remember that being a big topic of discussion when that figure came out, because instead of making him look like a real cool creeping dragon coming over his shoulder, it looked more like, it was one of those instances where they leaned way more into the vintage toy design, so it looks like a dragon toy sitting on its back. It's got those big teeth clasped together, and yeah.
There is some lovely embellishments on that belt, man. Look at that Skeletor belt, man. Because it was always kind of an eagle-y kind of... what kind of a motif was it on his belt at all? It was kind of this abstract kind of almost eagle head or something, wasn't it? Or like another, maybe it was another ram head, but I'm loving the extra embellishments on there, on the like the Roman skirt. Sorry?
Is it a dinosaur? A snake?
Yeah. I can't. The images are quite low res here that I'm looking at. I can't quite make it. Looks like a
looks
bird
like a
of some.
bird to me too.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me.
It looks like a turtle to me, and I know it's not. Like, I know it's not a turtle, but it looks like Toka. Like,
it's Toka. He's got Toka on his belt. Well, that's all I can see now. Thanks, Dad.
But he's got the lovely, look at the horde symbols on his greaves and his leg greaves as well. That's really nice. It's a lovely horde design as well. It's quite nice and baroque looking. It's like, oh, that's nice. I love that. Oh, I love that. That's very cool. And I'm
There's
also
a strong chance he's going to replace the other Skeletor on my shelf for behind, because I've got right now I've got one shelf that's got the new He-Man, the new She-Ra, and then the first Skeletor just kind of, with the Alcala head, like together. This Skeletor is for sure gonna go in there, I think.
Sorry, Tekla.
What they've done with Skeletor's hood, like I honestly, one of the things that I really I struggle with is this kind of like bonnet idea of like Skeletor's hood so tight against his face, and so much of that, you know, even on the new Masterverse line for the 40th anniversary 2-pack, like the hood is so close to Skeletor's face, and it's like I love a little bit of that hood draping down and hitting his you know his like top of his shoulders, like showing like the shroud over him. And I feel like people miss the fact that it's like a death shroud over a skull, and it's not like a tight little bonnet. Like and that was when I first saw on Toy Fair magazine the cover of Toy Fair that revealed the classic Skeletor. I remember feeling so disappointed because I was like, oh man, there's no room under his jaw for the hood. It's so tight around his head, and it just made me sad. I was like, oh man, I really wanted that.
You like that kind of like it's got that little peak on it as well. I bet you probably you like that.
Maybe that's the Filmation. Maybe that's why I love the Filmation design, because it does have that shroud, and it feels like in Filmation's design, the hood connects to his tunic or his harness. And I always love that idea. Like, to me, that makes sense, as opposed to just sort of like hovering hood.
Because what I liked about a lot of the original Masters of the Universe, like 10 or whatever it was, the 10 or 12 ones that came out, you know, they were all based on, you know, stuff that people could wear in medieval times. Nothing was that far removed from reality. So that's what I kind of like about the designs. And then, you know, you take that and you kind of push designs a little bit further now. It's like, I'm just looking away at this thing. It's glorious. I can't wait to see proper, like, prototype pics of this thing soon. I mean, his face looks a bit quite gnarly here as well, doesn't it? I mean, he's got that very pointed chin going on there as well. So, which, you know, again, it's very hard for me to make up. I mean, I'm cool, don't worry. I'm very cool with it, but it's a very, you know, I dare say this is one of maybe a few head sculpts that might come with it. Maybe, you think, you know, in the same way they give us different tiaras with She-Ra, they might give us different face plates for Skeletor. Maybe.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
I'm sure they will. I mean, the He-Man had several.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it's like I mean, I would argue to not bother with the vintage heads. To be honest, for me, I would never put a vintage head on this figure. I think it's a nice thingy, but I honestly just think for me it's a bit of a waste. I don't see the need to have the vintage heads, because I would just never do it. I prefer the money to be used in another aspect, another, you know, face plate or something like that. You see, you know, these are modern takes. We have, you know, are more kind of modern takes based on classic designs, and we kind of want that, you know. But, you know, give us. I mean, if some folks love putting the older heads on there, maybe, I guess, you know, you saw that with the last Mondo Skeletor. You know, a lot of people did put that old vintage head. And like you said, Dan, it worked very well on the MOTBs ones, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, the Motubi, it looks great. But I really don't like them for the standard ones. I think they look out of place, personally. Yeah. They look like toy heads on like a realistic body. It's weird.
It's a bit jarring. So
and I think what I wish they did, and I may actually do it as I sit here holding my vintage style He-Man head from the new one. Yeah. What I may do is I may do like paint his eyes so that they feel more realistic. I may give the hair some depth, do a brown wash and then a light highlight, dry brush on it. And I may do that just to see if the idea of including a vintage designed head but in a contemporary sort of paint scheme would work. I think that's a better or a more holistic idea than just including a head that looks like it just came right off the toy.
See, I'm not sure about that, because that vintage head is very squat, and because it was for a more squat figure. But what I think is but regardless, even if it is squat a little bit, it's still quite a detailed head sculpt. You know, his lips are quite defined, his jawline is there, his you know, everything is quite still clear on there. And I think what happens when you take that small head and you do blow it up, it softens all those details out. You see, in my opinion, because if you do like the vintage soft head He-Man, you do get in and you do look those facial features, the bags under his eyes, the creases around his eyes, the way his lips are defined, his feltrum, that's all very heavily defined in that vintage figure. But when you start blowing that things up, I think that's the thing wrong. I think you can definitely do that, but you need to go back into that scan and I think stretch it out and pull around with and push in some of those details for it to work. In my opinion, that is my opinion, Ted. Other opinions are available.
As I study this figure, this head, as you're talking, you are correct.
When you're right, you're right. Wow.
I'm literally looking at it while you were talking, and I was like, he's right.
That's the same thing, but it is, you pick up your vintage He-Man head, and that thing is sweet, man. That is a lovely head sculpt. And I think that's where everyone tries to go, and they take that and they try to blow it up, and that's just where it goes wrong, in my opinion. So it needs to be done to scale. But we can swing straight into now. Actually, hold on. Let me take a note. Actually, I'm going to take a quick word from our sponsor. Looking to find collectible figures at low cost with superior customer service? Fanboy Collectibles is one of the largest retailers of high-end collectibles on the east coast of the USA. Carrying a full array of hot toys, Enter-based Sideshow Collectibles 3A and all the top manufacturers. Domestic and international packages shipped daily, all fully insured with tracking number and securely packed. Getting it to you as quickly is important, but not as important as your collectibles arriving in pristine condition. Are you looking to pre-order an item to guarantee you don't miss it when it's released? Well, Fanboy Collectibles does that too. If you got a question about an item, give them a call, shoot them an email, or even leave them a message on their Facebook page. Fanboy Collectibles is available full-time to respond to you and to get your items to you as quickly as possible. Anyone can make a sale. Fanboy Collectibles knows the key to being successful is repeat customers. That comes from doing the right thing by you and making customer services their priority. Fanboy Collectibles. For some it's a hobby, to them it's an obsession. Right, and I'm going to take this opportunity now for us to swing back and actually talk about the actual three figures we got to get on, because the clock is a ticking, lads. But, this is what it's like when you get three fans on. We could be talking for ages. But we better get on, because I know folks have got stuff to do. Dan, you got to get to a match tonight, I believe, don't you?
I do, yes.
Do you have to go work out and kind of pump up and stuff like that before you do anything like that?
I at least need to do some stretching, probably some yoga, just to kind of loosen up and everything before I go out there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Don't dislocate your biceps.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh God! By the way, listeners, I am nursing a ripped bicep. I was lifting a box of the toy, and I'm not going to tell you what toy, listeners. But it was a heavy box, and I was lifting it awkwardly, and I managed to rip my bicep right off my elbow. And it just pinged right up. But it's like, yo, man, I'm hard. Yo, man, it's lifting heavy toys. I tore my bicep, yo. I can act really hard about it. So, there you go.
You're so tough.
I'm hardcore, lads. I'm still rocked on. I'm only half an hour back from the emergency room as well, listeners. I'd like to point that out, so... this is for the cause. It's for the love of Eternia, man. For Eternia.
Yeah.
You flippin' love it. All right, well, we're going to go straight into... Let's get in. We were talking about She-Ra, and we were talking about He-Man, but we're also going to talk about the lovely Revelation Skeletor as well. But let's kick it off, because the first one that actually came out... I've already discussed She-Ra on the last episode of the Hottoycast, so go back to episode 68 to hear my review. I'll happily skip over it again, but people have already heard me gush about this figure already. Everyone knows I absolutely love it. But Ted... what did you think of this figure? You got your She-Ra, and tell us about it. What do you think?
I was very, very surprised to see this. I first found out about it at PowerCon 2021 with everybody else. I was literally walking through the aisles, got to the Mondo booth. I was like, oh my God, they're doing Revelation.
Because you love She-Ra, don't you? I mean, you are a particularly big She-Ra fan yourself, aren't you?
Oh my God, yes. She-Ra, I mean, honestly, it's really tied He-Man to She-Ra for me in terms of my number one. I think She-Ra was the better written television show in Filmation era. I think that there was more complexity of character. I liked the stakes in a way that where Masters of the Universe, you know, in 130 episodes, the stakes kind of reset every episode, and they never really progressed to something that was truly almost insurmountable. Whereas She-Ra, the stakes to liberating an entire planet and saving one kingdom at a time, like that really, it echoed for me. And every time the Horde gained territory, whether it took over Kingdom of Snows or whether, you know, like there was a real, you know, battle there. And, you know, that I loved that aspect of it. That was a real root for my sort of like love for fantasy and adventure, was that show. And that figure, like, I have a lot of different She-Ras. I have almost every She-Ra that's ever been made. And that Mondo is kind of like the culmination of like every single She-Ra.
I mean, as a She-Ra fan, and you probably have a big collection of the vintage ones as well, you know, and this one comes with a lot of little vintagey bits as well. I mean, you must be happy about that. Did you buy two to get those extra looks?
Yeah, in fact, I was actually really disappointed that we never got to get that sort of like vintage toy look in the Classics line, and when they did the Masterverse She-Ra that came out, that she was very much in the same like sort of like Filmation-esque design. And I kind of like, there's something about that vintage toy, while it's very impractical for a woman to run around with that giant headdress on, there is something interesting to that design, and I think Mondo executed it flawlessly. The fact that you get that little attachment of bangs that hangs down over her face,
that's
under
lovely.
Oh my god, it looks so good. And there's aspects of the toy design, whether it's in that sort of like that radial fan design in her knee guards, or, you know, like all that stuff. It looks so elegant. They give you the other belt, the toy designed belt to go on there. Like, they really thought about it, and it's like I can design her in two different ways. Like, I have the doll that they came out with, the She-Ra doll that was a PowerCon exclusive. Both of them that were PowerCon. One was this Comic-Con exclusive.
The big massive box.
Yeah,
the big one. And I have that first one in her Filmation design, and then I have the Starburst She-Ra in her, you know, toy design. And I love the way they look, and I love that she has such, you know, it's rare for a single character to have two iconic looks where instantly you look at them and you know who it is. And the fact that She-Ra has two such iconic looks is really, really, it's awesome.
Isn't that one of those things that's kind of funny too when you think about it? Like, because that's exactly how it is with She-Ra. Like, the toy design was its own thing, and then there was the Filmation design, which is what we were watching on TV. And you think about that, like, when you're kids, weren't you watching that going, how come my toy doesn't look like it does on the cartoon? Why is it so different? So you spend all the
character.
Yeah, right. You could say that with every Filmation character, basically. But you spend all that time going, I wish I had a toy that looked like she does on TV. So then when that finally happens, it's really exciting. But then you start hitting this point where you're like craving that vintage toy design again. And you're like, why won't they do that again?
So right. It's all right. I mean, I have a custom because, like, you know, the Classics figure came with the toy, you know, tiara with the big wings on the side of the head. And then they released the New Adventures She-Ra, which was a character that didn't exist in the past, but they, you know, Nate Bartz designed this great New Adventures She-Ra, and he took the torso design of the original toy, and it looks amazing. So I kit bashed a very simple toy design She-Ra, but it would have been like the easiest thing in the world for Mattel to have released a 2-pack of She-Ra versus Catra as they looked in their vintage stuff.
I know, that would have been so cool. Yeah, Catra's another one. Very different looks between the two things, and yeah, the vintage look is fantastic. I love that too about this Mondo one. I agree with what Ted said. Just like the swapping of parts was so fun to do. When I was shooting her, I was having a blast taking all these photos of her and her different looks, and I just thought she was so gorgeous. One of the areas that I struggled with, and it's clear in my video that I struggled with it, was the cape.
The cape.
The cape was very unclear, the proper way to attach it, and while I was putting it on, I ran into some issues of like really scratching up the back of the figure and putting those black lines, black streaks on her, so it was like scaring me, and I kind of just settled on where to clip them, which ended up being wrong. So of course, you know, everybody's got to make sure I know that I did it wrong.
Gotta tell you you're wrong. You won't tell you you're right, you gotta tell you you're wrong.
you?
But it's got.
Where is it supposed to go? Because I put it exactly where you told me to put it.
So where I put it works fine, but there's up on the shoulders. There are
leather straps between the shoulder pad.
Two little like slots on that up on the shoulders on that armor that looks too small for those clasps, and that's why I was scared to put them there. But you can fit those clasps through there, and it does sit just a little bit better on her if you do it that way.
You gotta really press them in there, though, man. It's kind of throwing your fingers.
Yeah, and that's why I was scared. I was scared to do it, to be perfectly honest.
Bend out the wire a little bit before you do it as well. Just bend out the wire, or you'll see it's like a little hook wire. You need to bend that out just a little bit and really press it down in there.
Yeah. So that was really my only like nitpick or complaint, if you call it that. Like I was a little like, oh, I wish there was something that kind of explained better how this cape was supposed to attach or something like that, and that I wasn't scratching up my figure while doing it. Otherwise, now that it's all on there and it's set up, I love the wiring in the cape. I love how you can like really pose that cape.
You really can. It's great.
Oh, it's so fun to do too.
God, and you guys just changed my life. You guys just changed my life.
Did you do it? Did you switch the cape?
I just did it now. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, so I know I wasn't alone because a lot of people were struggling with that cape. It wasn't just me. So once I figured out how to do it the right way, I did my best to like post pictures online so everybody could see it. I was like, look here, try this. But it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. But she's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah, no,
she's beautiful. She's lovely. My only criticism is that I wish the skirt had been a softer, more pliable plastic, just to get a little bit more forward and backwards on those legs. Because you can widen her legs relatively well enough, but just a bit more forward and backward stances would have been kind of cool. I like getting some good lunge. Yeah, because
it's kind of got that triangular cut coming down in the front, so it kind of hinges the thighs coming forward a little bit. Yeah.
Just that. And it was the same problem I had with the Hordak as well. Just again, the skirt is just made of a very unforgiving plastic, and it's just I do like getting a little bit more, sometimes a wider stance on a figure and stuff. But she is glorious. She is glorious, and we're going to move quickly on now to her twin brother. And of course, this is round 2 for this He-Man, and I'm someone who actually I genuinely did like that last He-Man figure as well. I was, for me, it's a Barbarian He-Man. It was just a take on He-Man. I quite liked it. Did not like his hairdo one bit, but for me, the kind of Schwarzenegger face that he was going for, I was like, cool, this is a kind of a more barbarian thingy He-Man, and I just dug it, But
sure,
there was always in the back of my head, it's like, well, I'd still like a more vintage looking style He-Man, and lo and behold, here we come along. 3 years later, I believe, actually, 3 years after we got that original Mondo figure, we get a new updated He-Man. And he's just absolutely glorious. He's absolutely glorious. He comes with his shield. He comes with a shield that's the same as shield as before. I will say that. I would have liked more, because they went to the trouble of giving us a brand new power sword, and it's lovely. I actually really liked the last power sword too. I thought this was a cool design of a power sword. But this is cool. This is very much the Alcala mini comic looking original power sword. It's got the gaps in between it and stuff like that, which is far more. I saw a whole thing about swords on YouTube, and it was a whole video about like the practicality of the various He-Man swords. The 2000X sword came out last, of course, because it's practically as a design sword, but it was just a really
because it's insane.
It's like the guy called it the crab sword. It's like what, and then the fact it was really thin in the middle, right down the middle where it meets the crossbars, it was really thin. So it was like, how would this even handle and stuff like that? But it was just, and whereas this sword, they gave it the highest score. They said that the practicality of the gaps and the way the crossguards come up around, that actually has a functional quality to it. Whereas in other iterations, it's purely decorative. It was same with the crossguards on the movie sword. They don't really serve much of a purpose. They're purely decorative. So the movie sword and the Filmation sword weren't that great, and this one kind of came on top. But oddly, the one that came out even higher up was the new Adventure sword. He rated that slightly more practical because you could do more things. The laser sword? Well, because it has a grip in the middle of the crossguard for some reason. There's actually more guarding and more maneuvers you could do. I could go. It's a bit anal, to be fair, but it was just this random video popped up on my YouTube feed. It was all about the various iterations of He-Man swords and their practical applications. But this one kind of came out relatively higher than most. And anyway, sorry, going on. It's a lovely sword. It's a really nice sword. He comes with a dagger. He comes with a nice removable, like his old school dagger from the original mini comics. He comes with a dagger you can strap onto his furry boots, actual furry boots. I would have liked maybe a little bit of leather on those boots, to be honest. Maybe just some leather straps would have been nice, just a little extra kick. But they look brilliant. The paintwork is on it is lovely. Lovely new design of the harness. It's this one gave me the feels. It gives you the feels, but what it also gives you is the feels in all the other ways. He comes with a full Thunder Punch armor, and by full Thunder Punch armor, you come with different gauntlets. You come with a different sword. It's the same shaped sword, but it's the gold translucent, or I call it the Jelly Belly sword. And
the jelly
belly sword. It's it's the gold kind of translucent sword. He comes with a kind of a punching effect. You can attach, you move the fist, and you punch it on that, which is really cool. But it's a full Thunder Punch armor down to the backpack, the redness, and this is just cool. And you put the gauntlets and put him in full battle Thunder Punch, and it's just, oh yeah, it rocks.
It's got the big, giant, weirdly shaped shield, too, and a cap ring that plugs into it.
Yes, the shield is huge. It's a bit insane. Too thick, I have to say. It could have been a bit thinner, but yeah, it's flipping amazing, this thing. I could waffle on about ages. Go ahead. Anyway, Dan, you take over. What this He-Man?
I love him too. Mine turned out great, and I know.
Ted, sorry. Just a quick sorry, Dan. Ted, you've just got yours. Crack him open. Start opening him up while Dan's talking.
So that's exactly what I was doing as you were talking. I was playing with him. Mine came out fine. I'm very, very grateful. He works great. I literally just put him in his battle armor, and he looks so good.
That battle armor is fantastic.
That battle armor is amazing.
Take her away, Dan. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Ted said that his was good, because I do think it's worth mentioning. I know there's been some QC stuff with the torso and everything, which is definitely a shame to see, and I'm glad that Mondo's doing what they can to rectify that for everybody. I was also lucky that mine seems fine. I haven't had any issues with mine yet, and I think he's wonderful. Like I love everything about him. Basically, those separate armors are so good. That battle armor that Ted was just putting on is so cool, and I like too because it looks like it adds a little bit of extra bulk to He-Man, which just really gives you that like vintage feel. Like I really like that. One of the aspects of that I was kind of surprised by when I got it is that they chose to do the emblem on there as a magnetic piece. Cool. So like you can pop on the normal clean one, or then you can take that off and you can stick on one that's got scratches on it to kind of do the battle damage thing, which is a really fun idea. And the magnet seems to work good, so I don't feel like I'm gonna like bump it or it's gonna fall off or anything in my shelf, which is really nice. That Thunder Punch armor is insane.
It's absolutely insane. Absolutely brilliant.
It's one of those, because that's just one of those like crazy vintage toy variants, right? Like you look at that as like just one of those fun, gimmicky, classic He-Man action figures. Thinking about taking that outfit and putting it on this like highly detailed collectible figure like this just makes you like, it just looks so cool. It's amazing how good it works.
Yeah.
And like the first time I put all that red on him, I was like, he looks so cool. And then you add that fist with the lightning effect, the burst coming off of it. You pose him and like you give him the angry face, and you have him like rearing back to punch with his Thunder Punch, and it's like, oh my god, this is so cool looking. He was so much fun to photograph when I got him out. That I'm really having a hard time deciding, like, do I display him like that or do I put him in the battle armor? Because I think those are my two favorite looks for this figure. But it's awesome. I love him.
You see, when I get these figures, I purposely avoid looking at any of your reviews. Because the whole because you're a professional reviewer. I am not a professional reviewer. I just do this podcast and stuff like that.
No, I get that. I get that.
And so for me, the kick for me is I do it live on opening, and I have no idea what I'm getting. So I've seen the preview pictures, and that's generally it, because I know it's going to be awesome. And I get it, and you hear me spazzing out and stuff like that. I lost my shit. Pardon my French, boys and girls. That's my one curse. I will not beep that. I'm allowed one. When I saw the magnets popping on the chest of the battle armor, I was like, oh, I was not expecting that. It was just so cool. And just like you said, the battle, the Thunder Punch action is absolutely brilliant. Ted, you must be gushing over this too, man.
He's just absolutely stunning. I think that there's something about this figure. First of all, everything that was wrong with the first version, they fixed. Like it's immediately they fixed. I actually don't have a love for Thunder Punch for the look. I don't love that armor. I know, I don't love that armor. Of all the He-Man armors over the years, it is the one that I like the least. I like the power of Thunder Punch He-Man. I like the idea that there is a powerful, cat-based assault on your bad guys. But And I actually, and here's where the flip is. I actually think that the flying fist power is so stupid, but I love that armor. I love the way that flying fist armor looks.
That was my favorite vintage He-Man as a kid because he was so shiny.
Gorgeous.
You love that shiny, Dan. You love it.
And I like that. To me, that's where like I'm flipping. I think Thunder Punch, armor looks dumb, but the power's cool. I think the power for Flying Fist is dumb, but I think the armor looks cool. So, but looking at this, like it actually makes me kind of like it a little bit. Like to your point, Dan, like the red, like it's actually kind of striking on this guy.
It's really bold.
Yeah.
He gives me the feels, man. He gives me the feels.
I have a lot of red on my shelf right now because thank you, Dan. Now my She-Ra cape is completely unfurled and it is, amazing. And then I have
No, what you do with that is now, Ted, you come along, make lots of S's on the bottom of her cape. Lots of S's. Curl it all in because you can really squish it all in, but make nice smooth S's and U's at the bottom.
It makes me sad that the Hordak cape isn't wired because I'm looking at the Hordak cape and I'm like, man, I wish that was wired.
Oh yeah, because it just kind of hangs straight. Yeah.
But man, that He-Man, I'm just like, he's so beautiful. I actually, there's a part of me that wishes that the dagger was actually held by a magnet. The black sort of elastic on it, where it fits the best is literally right over the fur, and. Yeah. Think that like having the black elastic on it just kind of stands out a little bit.
No, Ted, what you do there is now you come along and you listen to old Neddy here, and he'll get you through that.
Please tell me, sir.
All right, what we're going to do here now, Ted, is full Irish accent now for you. What you do, Ted, is you really take that elastic, you really ride it up right under the lion cloth. Push it right down under the loincloth. There's quite a lot of length to that loincloth, and you push that elastic right up under the loincloth.
Oh.
And it'll hide the strap, and it's just hanging there now, and it's actually quite secure.
You guys are really changing my life today.
I knew you'd get something out of it. There you go. And of course, he's got furry shorts. Come on, it's the first He-Man we've ever had with actual furry shorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how good is that?
Great.
As good as that.
So let me ask: are you guys displaying him with the power sword or the battle axe?
Well, I would have preferred a new battle axe, to be honest, because I already have that battle axe loads of times because it came with the Faker, it came with the last He-Man, and I think the version of it came with the Skeletor as well with a ball on it and stuff like that. So I would have liked a new battle axe, but the one criticism I have of the figure is the fact there's nowhere to put anything on his back, and that's slightly irritating to me. And so I would have loved some, because for me, I love having He-Man's axe on his back when he has got the sword, or vice versa. So I was just a little.
Right. The first He-Man had a sheath for his power sword,
yeah, so that's
and I mentioned that this one doesn't have anywhere to put a sword, and that is a bit of a bummer. But I've got mine in the battle armor right now, and so he's holding the battle axe because to me the axe and the battle armor seem like
you have to have that.
Like they go together, right? Like absolutely. I feel like so that's the way I've got mine posed currently.
I just feel stylistically that axe is just a little bit off compared to the sword and the battle armor. It's just a little bit, it's just...
I completely agree with you, Dan. I do connect the battle armor with the battle axe, but I have She-Ra up there with her sword, and I just have them crossing swords right now.
Oh yeah, that's.
I'm gonna have to keep, because he looks the best in the battle armor, but having the two of them there with their swords crossed is kind of perfect for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's great.
There you go. Right, guys, the clock is against us now, so we better get it moving. And it's the final thing, and I'm gonna let Ted take this way, because Ted is the man here, and I'm
Am I? When did that happen?
And it just
now. You were just.
It's been gradually happening, Ted. It's one of those slow, progressive things that happens.
I've never been the man.
Well, use the man on now, man. This is my action figure of the year. Oh, actually, no, it was my. What did I have? I was really gratuitous. I wasn't, because I genuinely think so. The Death Dealer from Mezco was my favorite action figure of the year. I absolutely love that. We do discuss higher end figures on this podcast, and just to quickly interject in our normalcy, the Death Dealer from Mezco is my favorite action figure of the year. But what I'm talking about is a figure that blew my mind away and is my second favorite action figure of the year. And it is the Mondo Revelation Skeletor. And Ted, you must be, as executive producer of said Revelation TV show, still airing on Netflix, and we're imminently and anticipating the second chapter, big chapter, that was just Revolution. Can't wait, Ted, can't wait. But you must be over the moon with this representation here of your boy Skeletor. Come on.
I was. First of all, I've worked on shows before that have had toy lines, but few of them that I like truly like loved and collected and all that. So having, especially with characters that I had like a hand in designing and helping to create, it was really kind of cool to see Revelation toys just come to life. And then I found out that there was a Mondo Revelation Skeletor when everybody else did. I was at PowerCon 2021, walking through the aisles, got to the Mondo booth and saw him standing there, and literally lost my brain. I was like, what? And I ran to Mike Bonanno, who used to run Mondo at the time, and I was such a fanboy to him, and I was like, oh my god, I love it so much. I love all your stuff. I have your Alfred Hitchcock. I'm such a Mondo fan, and I love it so much. I buy your albums. I buy your artwork. and he was so gracious. They actually sent me one, which was very nice. That doesn't happen very often when you work on a show. Like, there are Umbrella Academy figures out there now. We're going into our 4th season. I still don't have them. So
who's making the Umbrella Academy figures?
What's that?
Who's making Umbrella Academy figures? Is it Super 7?
Boss fight.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. Oh, cool. Boss fight. I like Boss fight. I'm friends with Boss fight.
But not often does the studio or partners send things. So it was very nice to get that guy in the mail. And I got him probably before everybody else started to get him, like maybe about a week or so. And it was so amazing to see the art of Powerhouse and Eddie and all of the the designers who worked on that show, like in 3D form. I know not everybody is a big fan of cell shaded action figures. I
wasn't.
I love all the NECA Ninja Turtle animated lines. I actually love all the Hasbro X-Men 90 well, not 97 yet, but X-Men 90s action figures. I'm into that style. But seeing it on this, it really merges a beautiful high-end statue with an action figure, and it's terrific how you can make this gorgeous statement piece on your shelf. And I have it at work in my office, and it's like having this beautiful piece in there for people to look at, and then I can play with it while I'm on the phone.
I think it's the best figure ever, man. I absolutely adore it. Dan, I'm trying to lead you up to the box here so I can talk about the artists and creditors involved.
So I don't have this figure yet, but I'm getting it. It's on the way, and I'm really excited to actually check it out. Mostly because I know Eamon was gushing about it, and I've seen his pictures, and I've seen everybody's pictures, and I love it. And I love the animated. Dan, and my review. And your review, yeah. Everybody go watch Eamon's review.
I know I'm not a pro.
You brought this up earlier. I can probably go ahead and talk about this now, right? About this this particular lineup from Mondo. So the thing that's cool about this Skeletor, and I don't know if anybody's really paid much attention or noticed, but it's not utilizing the same body system as the standard Masters of the Universe line from Mondo. And the reason for that is because the Revelation line is a separate line. They're treating it like a different line. So they're actually basing those off the animation, which is why the body is built different. And that means there's more of these coming. So this is a full line that's separate from the standard 1/6 Masters line that they're doing. So you guys can probably expect to see some more animated figures coming soon, which is pretty exciting.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for
I know.
that. Seriously, but it's just this figure. It's just like we were saying earlier. I wasn't big into cell shaded figures, but this just came along, and I just saw the little teaser pics, and I said, okay, brilliant, great, and I got one, and they sent me out one, and I was absolutely blown away by it, and it's like he just walks straight out of the cartoon. And this is notably sculpted by May Tarma. I'm terrible with his name, but it's May Tarana, who's actually sculpted quite a few of the things that I've worked on too. The anatomy on this is amazing. That's why I'm bringing up the sculptor in particular and stuff, because it is straight out the show, so it's designed down to Eddie Nunez and all the gang over there, over the Netflix, all Ted's peeps, and he walks straight out the screen. The anatomy is just so big and bulky. Like, his muscles are massive, but his waist is nice and tapered in and thin. His feet are really big, and what's amazing is he comes with 3 heads. You can, and it's a really good system actually, because the head, like Ted was talking about earlier, the cowl folds right down and tucks right down into his shoulders and into his neck ring there on his his shoulder armor there, and you can pull that off very easily and just pop off the head, and it kind of just the cloth, just not the cloth, it's plastic, plugs into the back, and you've got 3 different heads with 3 different expressions, all of which the mouth opens. Every one of their mouths open, and there are fully articulated mouths. And there's but 3 different expressions. He's got like one eyebrow raised one way, another eyebrow raised another way, one just really I'm gonna kick your ass face, and then one kind of scared and kind of like his eyes are kind of down. It's kind of funny. It's kind of cool, but it's still very cool. And it just oozes the Mark Hamill voice of Skeletor. You can just feel it coming through. And the staff is particularly awesome as well. The staff is like really thick and big, and it's just again straight out the cartoon. And it comes with a 1/6 scale, Revelation Sword of Power, Ted. I mean, come on, man. Seriously, how lovely is that to see in 1/6 scale? Isn't it glorious?
It's pretty beautiful. I think, when we were designing the Power Sword, obviously, the toy was a big influence, Filmation was a big influence, but we wanted a level of elegance to it, so we sort of extended the blade a little bit longer, and just seeing the way that looks in his hand when and you can, like you said, you can hear Mark Hamill go, "Now I have the power." Like you can, and like I look at that thing, and it's literally like capturing a snapshot from the show. It's great. I also love the scared face or kind of like I call it the WTF face when when like he does that thing where he like punches into a portal and then the giant hand comes out.
Love that maneuver. Love it.
And then He-Man punches the fist, and then he pulls it back with like kind of like ah.
Yeah, that's
like look, I love that look. Every time I see it, it cracks me up. And that face is literally that face.
Yeah. And let's not forget as well, it comes with a little plug-up piece for the bottom of the staff that you can actually use the spear as well. So you can spear Prince Adam. Spoiler. Yeah. For anyone who hasn't watched it.
Oh no, Eamon. Oh no, they know that happened.
They know that happened. I'm not aware of the internet.
They know it happened.
Yeah. Oh God Almighty.
Lucky you, Eamon.
Lucky. Yeah, I know nothing about such things. No, every time I post a piece of art, I never hear about it. God Almighty. Oh, just enjoy, folks. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's very, very, very simple.
So simple.
It's very, very simple. But I loved it, and I love it all. Just give it all to me. I was just, I'm for my characters to be treated so seriously, and to be dealt with such lovely modern animation. And speaking to which, just a slight deviation from there. We'll jump back into quick figure again. We were talking about He-Man's face. As everyone knows, I kind of do some of the box art for the Revelation figures. And you have to look at the faces and stuff like that. And when He-Man first transforms, or when Adam first transforms into He-Man, there's a shot of just He-Man's face, and it's one of the most highly kind of rendered shots of his face on the show, straight on. And it's just like, that's my boy. And he just looked proper. Just the proportions of his face, the shape of his jaw, his kind of warm yet strong feature. I just loved that face. We're talking about face and stuff like that. So slight deviation there. I was 10% on the show. I figured I just mentioned that there. We're talking about He-Man faces. But what's also cool about the Skeletor, though, so go back to Skeletor, is I love this cape. You wouldn't think a heavy ass plastic cape would be that great, but I really love the cape on this guy. It's really cool. Oh, and the plastic is a little bit more pliable on his belt too, so you can get far more wider stances. So just as a figure as well, he's just really, 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 really functional and stuff like that. His wrists are a bit hard to plug in and out, but it's good because they're a lot more tighter and secure than they used to be before. But then you're what is imminent, is it? You must be excited for this as well, though.
Yes. Yeah, I am excited. I'm excited to check it out. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes too. Like, what else are they going to do with it? Like,
me too.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see where it goes too.
Oh, go ahead, Ted. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it's funny. Like, I have ideas. I think that there's some obvious ones. I hope we get He-Man. But like, there's some, I think some of the really popular characters that did pop out of Revelation. Clearly, I think Skeletor, obviously, but Scareglow is definitely one that I think would be pretty awesome to see.
He's a big character in the show, so it makes sense.
And when we were designing Scareglow for Revelation, I actually sent pictures of my Mondo Scareglow to Eddie and Patrick and Adam and the directors and to Powerhouse and saying like this is where I think our Scareglow lives. Like he's the Lord of the Underworld. Like let's make his cape tattered and give him sort of that the ghostliness of him.
The second Mondo Skeletor you sent them over. The second one.
No, the first.
No, Mondo Scareglow. Mondo Scareglow.
Scareglow. Yeah, the first Scareglow that they did.
The first Mondo Scareglow that they did. Oh yeah, that's right. They did do two. I have two. They did a classic one that looked like the toy, but they did the first they did had that sort of really beautiful ornate cape with the collar and the shredded cape at the end, and like that's the one that I thought really represented who our character was going to be. So it would be great to see that guy come to life in an animated form as well. I think that obviously Evelyn's my favorite, so as many times as we can get Evelyn, I would love that. God knows there's enough looks for her in Revelation.
Definitely.
Yeah, she changed her look quite a bit, didn't she?
Yeah, she got a lot of looks in Revelation, but in Revolution, He-Man gets quite a few looks. I think we get 3 different looks for He-Man in Revolution, and then Teela gets 4 looks in Revolution. So there's going to be some designs, and Skeletor gets 3 looks. So one of them is going to be talked about, I think. So in a good way, not in a bad way.
Yes.
Is it going to be like his Terraclaw armor, where he's just got a 6-pack exposed, Apollo Creed style?
Oh my God.
I think. Look, I'm no. It's not really a spoiler, because I think if you watched Revelation and you see where it ends, you can kind of guess where we're going with Skeletor.
Oh, I've got that figured out then.
Where the evolution of Skeletor is going, but
new adventures, cybernetic.
Oh yeah.
So, but at some point, we do something really cool with Skeletor that I don't think anybody's going to see coming. But I think where there's one great moment in there where we may pull some colors that I think people are going to be really surprised about. So
cool.
Excellent. And that therefore would make more figures as well. So that's always going to be nice, isn't it?
That's the whole goal, right? Isn't that the
more
goal?
toys?
That's kind of the whole point, isn't it? That's why we're all in this, Reggie. We just want more toys, really. I mean, at the end of the day, let's face it, none of us would actually bother working, and we would all just stay at home, just posing the shit out of our figures for there's my second one now. I've got a mark. Yeah. See, am I allowed 2 curses? Maybe, I wonder. Should be fine. I think I'll be fine.
I'm actually really surprised. I have not cursed this entire thing, and I have a really potty mouth, so I'm really proud of myself.
Look, I got injury, Ted, so I'm allowed. I get injured. But yeah, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I love my work and stuff like that. But playing on the table, like Dan said earlier, taking pictures of a good action figure, man. That's just as rewarding and as relaxing as it gets, man. To be honest, it's kind of like it's that or go surfing. There's 2 things that clear your brain, that or go surfing, and I can't go surfing as often as I would like. So and it's just lovely, like I said, like sitting down there and posing up She-Ra, and especially the functionality of figures. And when a functionality figure works really well as well, I quite like that as well. It's something I keep harping on about. But I'm buying into more figures and then doing things, and I design them and things, and sometimes I'm happy with articulation that happens in the things that I do. Sometimes I'm like not, and it's just I want to learn more, and because when I see something that's well engineered, I'm like, oh, but it's well engineered and looks aesthetically nice. I do like that, and I think She-Ra is nicely engineered, and she's aesthetically lovely in her anatomy and things like that. It's nice and clean, So, and this Skeletor is the same as well. That just the anatomy on his body is just stunning. He's got his fists are really big and chunky, and his fins that come off his forearms as well are really quite exaggerated, which is just dope. And his monster feet, love me some monster feet, I do. But there you go, lads. That's our figures covered. We did it in 1 hour, nearly 20 minutes. That's not bad. That's not bad. We actually did. I thought we'd be dragging our feet for ages on stuff, because it's not often we get to chat at all, and it's just lovely to be able to do abuse my platform of podcast and just to indulge and have some 2 lovely fine gentlemen over to chat about mastering. Because my other 2 co-hosts, they're old as hell, those 2 boys, and they legitimately He-Man to them is the kiddie stuff. So they're older lads, and they're into their old Star Warses and.
Better be careful. We're on our way, man.
We are not far. We're well on our way. Oh God, things just hurt so much more now. And I can't drink either, man. Getting hangovers, it's not worth it anymore, man. The hangovers are so brutal now. It honestly is not worth it. You know, and
by the way, I completely agree. I can't drink anymore. I can't do roller coasters anymore. I can't even walk down the stairs sometimes. Like, it's getting old is awful.
Well, it's been absolutely lovely having you both on, lads. I'm telling you, it's been an absolute joy. It's a far rare treat, and you know, maybe we'll all come together again when there's a few more figures down the line again, because you know, this is Dan's second time, and hopefully Ted, you'll come back on the show again and just geek out some more. And just may I say publicly, man, I flipping love Revelation. It was brilliant. Absolutely. I want things shaken up, and you know, I was one of those kids that grew up, and you know, He-Man went away, and like when He-Man went to outer space, you know, who looked after Eternia? It was Teela. Teela would have led stuff. So it all felt. It was just, I just loved it. It was just absolutely, and I can't wait for Revolution. So it's been absolutely brilliant. Dan Pixel, Danny, one of my favorite. There's you who do your thing, and I love the reviews that you do. Just your style of it, the whole presentation of it. It's honest, it's true, it's all the rest of it. And then I've got the Fush then, and he's that's the Fush. They've got their lovely TV presentation style. They give you all the latest news. They do all that thing. And then there's Dan Larson. And he kind of goes into his thing then, and he does his lovely videos that he does when he goes deep into why things worked and failed, and with certain properties and things. I like his production qualities are really good too. But
all are wonderful people.
Yeah, they're
wonderful dudes.
Right. Hopefully, I'll get to meet them, man. I like him. Can't wait to meet like Dan in particular as well, because I just since Dan kind of came on the end, I was like, oh, I like this guy, because it just felt like, oh, this is a guy who takes his stuff seriously, he's professional, and I like you as well. I like professionalism but liveliness. I don't like professionalism but pretentiousness and stuff like that. And what I hate is silliness and people who don't know what they're talking about reviewing a figure as well. There's a few reviewers out there. I'm just like, oh, dude, what are you saying? Just some conclusions that people draw when they're reviewing a figure. Oh, well, I guess that's because it is. And I'm like, well, dude, whoa. And
it's like, the truth is a Google away, people. It's a Google.
It's a Google away. It's a Google away. But listen, I better let you off, Dan. You got a match to do. Ted's got to go off and be amazing and do creative stuff that's just going to blow all of our minds and break the internet with dances and TikToks that have ruled the world, for crying out loud, and dropped one of the most amazing cool young actresses ever, for crying out loud. I mean, how amazing is she?
Oh, Jenna? Are we talking about Jenna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, Ted, how on earth did you find her?
She honestly, she was on a Disney Channel show. She was in You. She had a high profile. She was rising. She was in Storm. And as we were, what do you call it? Not Scream, not Storm. As we were in prep for the show, and we were, talking about what we wanted for our Wednesday, my colleague, this woman Coral Wright, who works with me, she was like, we need somebody like a Jenna Ortega. And I was like, how old is she now? Is she old enough to play this part? Because I only knew her from Disney Channel, from Stuck in the Middle, and
right.
And it was one of those things, and she met and she loved Tim Burton. Like, they just clicked.
Oh, there you go then. That's always the way, isn't it? When
awesome.
When two creative folks click like that, and that's what I like, to my point earlier, the fact that things get made. It's when people like that click, when people click together.
Well, that was one that like Wednesday, real quick on Wednesday, like that was one where I had heard the pitch from Alan Miles, and it was who created Smallville and Shannara Chronicles and Into the Badlands. They pitched the show, and I was like, oh my god, I want to make this. This is great. And it was at the pitch stage I knew I wanted to make it, and then commissioned the script, got the script. The script was phenomenal. Greenlit the series. Then heard that Tim Burton had read it and loved it and wanted this to be his first TV show. Made the deal with Tim, and then when we all were starting the casting, and Jenna Ortega. And by the way, very early on, everybody said, we think Catherine Zeta-Jones should be our Morticia.
Sweet. That
worked out. Catherine was phenomenal to work with. Gwen Christie came in very early on in the project. So this is one of those things, like I was saying, like everything just fell into place. Every script was fantastic. It was one of those things where The creative was never in question with this show. We knew it from the beginning when we read the scripts that this was a show that was working on every level, and that if we cast it right and we direct it right, it's going to work. And I didn't know it was going to work to the level that it worked, but I knew that it was going to be. I knew that it was going to work.
And work it did, man. Oh my God! Second biggest show of all time on Netflix.
It's close. It still hasn't beaten Squid Game yet.
Oh, Squid Game #1 still. I thought it'd be Stranger Things.
Squid Game is still #1. Now, Stranger Things was the biggest English language show. I think but I think Wednesday now holds that for season 1. Don't forget, Stranger Things has 4 seasons. Sure. So you look at it in totality. Like, Stranger Things is still the biggest English language show, but Wednesday's the biggest season 1.
Gotcha. Oh man, you must be so proud.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so
that's fantastic.
We can't be holding you back, gentlemen. Both of you, thanks for talking. Dan, where can folks find you?
Oh, well, you can find me on YouTube primarily. Just do a search for Pixel Dan. You'll find my channel. But you can also find me over on Instagram. I'm posting pictures and short videos over there all the time. And Twitter, same handle, @PixelDan.
What reviews have you got up and stuff? You're going to be reviewing, obviously, this Revelation Skeletor. You got any more reviews coming up?
Oh, well, yeah, I can go ahead and, since this is a Mondo show, I can let you know that I currently have a pre-production sample of the animated Jubilee from the X-Men line.
Oh, nice!
And I am working on that right now, so that's coming up real quick.
Oh, brilliant, then. I look forward to seeing that.
Yep.
Ted Biaselli, thank you so much for joining me. Where can folks find you?
I'm on Instagram, Animate Ted. I take pictures of my toys, like... I have an animation.
You take great pictures of your toys. So... Great pictures.
my whole time in college was all about stop motion, and you know, I love building sets and lighting and miniatures, and so toys is kind of like, you know, it's part of that little hobby. It's where I get to stretch my creative muscles. So I take pictures of my toys, and yeah, if you like toys, it's pretty eclectic. It's not just Motu. I try to showcase a lot of great toys across many different lines. So, Animate Ted on Instagram.
Excellent. And you can find me as Eamon O'Donoghue on Instagram, and you can catch me on Twitter, Eamon_. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for our Mondo special on the Hottoycast. We'll be back next, probably, you know me in the Hottoycast, guys. I get them in when I can get them in. But we've got some good guests lined up, actually, as well, for next week as well. They're going to be coming on, and we got Mike and Jeff going back on, so it's going to be a good one. So join me for that. Ted Biaselli, Dan Pixel, Dan Eardley, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Catch you guys on the next one. Good night, folks. Say good night, lads.
Good night. Thanks. Good night, guys.